This video is going to be about poor journalism that perpetuates misinformation and makes people worse off and can also cause harm to others who are not involved in whatever problem that's been discussed. In 2008, May 9th at 8:26 a.m., Wired Magazine's website posted an article under security category from Sharon Weinberger. And this is almost the entire article. It's not a verbatim reading, number one, because I want to do this as a rebuild of it so that it isn't a violation of copyright, and also because I'm doing it in such a way that it's a little bit more digestible. The Army's very strange webpage on voice-to-skull weapons has been removed. It's been erased. It was strange, it was there, and it's even stranger it's gone. By the way, I should point out there was a bunch of minor grammar and spelling, grammar errors. If you Google it, you'll see the entry for voice-to-skull device, but if you click the website, the link is dead. But the entry is still available on the Federation of American Scientists page, link below in the description. It was an Army Mill Products Thesaur and then pseudorandom number.htm page, made before 2004 and last updated 2007 and later lost or erased or redacted. Thesaurus index, term index, and other navigations hint at what this was about. This is like finding someone humorously naming a chemistry manual for the Air Force chemtrails. That doesn't mean it's a fact and they're confessing to, or it's somehow hidden Illuminati symbology. It was a chemistry joke. It was about the history of chemistry and the process, the trail through history, and let's move on. But yeah, it's a thesaurus and terminology and acronym index. V2K is an acronym that's poorly done for voice-to-skull devices. Non-lethal weapons, which include a neuroelectromagnetic device which uses microwave transmission of sound into the skull of a person or animal by way of pulse-modulated microwave radiation, or attempts at doing so. Continuing. Or a silent sound device which can transmit sound into the skull of a person or animals. The sound modulation may be voice or audio subliminal messages. One application of V2K, a term that really isn't voice to skull because skull doesn't start with a K, uses an electronic scarecrow to frighten birds in the vicinity of airports. See also Bird Airstrike Hazard, BASH, an acronym. Now, this is an oversimplification of its entire existence from 2004 to 2007, as archived. If you fire a microwave beam or just the radar dish tilting down, people notice that the birds would fly away. If you did it enough in a way that it disturbed their sleep patterns, they would leave the area so you didn't have as many bird strikes near airports. This is the only practical application. It was only short term. Birds began to adapt, and or birds that didn't get affected by it didn't change. Voice to skull, if you're not aware of it, relies on you making very hard, high, many multi-kilowatt pulses of electromagnetic radiation or just radio signals in the microwave range to cause the surface of a person's skull, depending on how it's shaped or whatever, and how old they are, how ossified, to vibrate slightly. You can also do the thing with slightly soaked wood and certain varieties of aspen or some other type of wood that was used in an experiment so that you could make noises. This was based on exploring the idea of what happened when microwave signals were fired at a particular emblem on a wall to eavesdrop by receiving the radio signal back from it vibrating using the surface of a metal plate as a modulator for the microwave signal, and people thinking the microwave signal was somehow a weapon, and it wasn't. Now, in this article it mentions a representative of the UK-based group Christians Against Mental Slavery, so not dramatic, tells Wired that they first noted the change in the website, meaning they noted the page there and they noted it was erased, and also have permanent screenshots of the page. Okay. They contacted the webmaster, who would only tell them the entry was permanently removed. Now, this is a third-party source, so we have to evaluate Christians Against Mental Slavery. You already know where this is going. But I'm evaluating mostly the Wired article. Christians Against Mental Slavery is a Christian evangelical international political pressure group. That's what they call themselves. Of Bible-believing Christians established in 2002, whose original 12 members agreed that it should be not a Council of 12 reference at all. Should be regarded as a crime against humanity worldwide for anyone to monitor or to influence another human's thoughts technologically without his or her continuing informed consent. See also Google and every web ad you've ever dealt with. I mean, they might have been onto something, but no, they decided it was ray beams from planet Zatar and or the Illuminati. Yeah, it's a group of people with schizophrenia. Undiagnosed or otherwise, or people who are apologists for it. I'm going to get to that in a minute. The article also featured a Raven 1 user self-styled 2000 Hypno2s.gif image depicting how a voice-to-skull weapon might work. And this was a site of by and for persecution complex schizophrenics calling themselves targeted individuals or TIs, and many other acronym-based statements because they have their own internal language to exclude rather than include people. I'm going to read the text from the GIF image, and I've also made a new version of it that will be at an Imager link below. How silent, converted to voice FM, hypnosis can be transmitted. Pro tip, hypnosis tapes from a long time ago, if you go get them, if you change the labels, people believe whatever label it says, not what the content is. Ergo, the subliminal tape recording and subliminal sources don't do what people think they do because you can put any noise on there you want to. If you tell them it's supposed to make them stop smoking, it might help stop smoking. If, however, it was to help them get pregnant, they may not get pregnant. And I'm not kidding, that was a methodology for testing this. It shouldn't matter what it says on the tin. It should have an influence on you. After all, the claim is, quote, there is no conscious defense possible against hypnosis, which of course is bullshit. This was done by a person who's decided to throw their hands up and has learned helplessness. I am a slave to my mental, emotional, or psychological problem or society, and I refuse to try to fight anymore because I give up. Yes, the world can be very tiring. Yes, reality is also very tiring. They both have the same coercive and corrosive effect on our souls and our psyche, but that doesn't mean it's people out to get you. And it isn't hypnosis. Using a voice frequency modulator to generate the voice, then pulsed microwave voice to skull for distance and cover. Steady tone near the high end of the hearing range, 15 kHz. Hypnotist voice varying from, let's say, 300 to 4,000 hertz, or 4 kHz. The actual voice range that should have been done here if the person was doing any looking up is 30 or 300 cycles per second to 3 kHz. That way you can take advantage of telephonic systems that were used for phone systems for doing this. Also, it should be noted that exactly 3 megahertz, or very close to that, is the bandwidth used for television, and electronic circuits specialized to have a very good band pass in that range, like audio for 3 kHz and below, are what you use. You don't reinvent the wheel by making it 4 kHz when you're trying to do a modulation frequency at 15. Output is more or less a steady tone like tinnitus, but with hypnosis embedded. See also that certain medications for treating mental illness or even just a head cold can cause ringing in the ears. Also, many people who have organic problems with the brain or just a viral infection will have tinnitus. And it does vary. I experienced this personally recently. And yes, I got inside of my giant, Jiffy Pop aluminum can hat and made sure it wasn't caused by that. No, I'm not kidding. I went into a room that actually has metal shielding around it, and the ringing still persisted. Both of my ears had discordant ringing at a slightly different frequency, and it was driving me up the walls. Then it shifted to one ear, and I realized it was happening that at one ear. What that means is I had a minor touch of a viral infection, maybe it's Delta variant COVID, that attacked my inner ear and attacked 2 very close together frequency-detecting hairs and neurons inside of the cochlea. That's literally what caused it. You can also get that if you're hitting the head hard. But let's move on. But it was modulated, and then it went away. I took an anti-inflammatory and it went away. Anyway, steady tone like tinnitus, but it has hypnosis embedded in it. Each vertical line on this graph is one short pulse of microwave signal at a frequency to which a human brain is sensitive. Again, voice to skull, as its name implies and overtly states, is to affect vibrating the surface of the skull. You can also do this with a piece of wood that slightly has a high moisture content, apparently. Timing of each microwave pulse is controlled by each downslope crossing of the voice wave. This is the 1974 original Sharp's method. What that means is, as a waveform goes up, you can quantitatively test its peak. Once it starts going down, usually with voice signals, it goes down, and you measure a down slope. At that point, you have a wavelength. If you make it go from here at the peak down to the dropping point at 0 and make a pulse and a microwave signal, and then do it again on the other side, it creates a pulse width that's about the same as the width of the frequency. It makes it to where you can hear something. It's called pulse width modulation, but it's not really. It's input frequency modulated pulses. But anyway, let's move on. Who cares? Brain converts the train of microwave pulses back to an inaudible voice. It's voice frequency, but now it's talking to you in teletype. There is no conscious defense possible against hypnosis. And remember, this was doable in 1974. Except it wasn't. None of that's true. It's bullshit. So, Wired, in 2008, Sharon Weinberg used two sources that are from schizophrenia self-help groups that don't help them. Also seeking to validate, essentially, a GIF, which, by the way, thank you, the person who did it. They did a GIF. It was easy to clean it up enough that I could get the text out of it, so I have a verbatim copy here in the description. There are extensive online support networks and numerous websites maintained by people that are trying to do self-help. The sharing and acceptance of common experiences could function as a form of group therapy or cognitive therapy. But when it comes to delusions, these sites can negatively reinforce problems, especially mental ones, and also organic ones. Mental issues and psychiatric issues and such aren't really demarcated correctly. Some of this stuff is caused by a defect in the brain, chemical imbalance, maybe even the medication you take and try to treat it. But the point is, these websites rarely, if ever, state factually, here's how you do it. I'll tell you in a minute, but here we go. Now, many of the websites accept testimonials as fact, listen and believe style, and do not debate the subject or discuss how to solve a problem. They just say that the problem's not your fault, you're a victim, learned helplessness mode. This creates a harmful ideological platform for those who are very likely to be just simply schizophrenics, or in some cases, undiagnosed with other issues, including, I have to say this, some people show up on these sites and have real medical problems that go undiagnosed because then they become paranoid and only talk to people who believe what they say and don't go in and find out, oh, you had a brain tumor. We could have cured you. Now you're going to die. I've dealt with dozens of people that had these problems. I ended up helping a lot of them because I'm a geek and I could explain, no, this is how you test a go, no-go test. Are you being talked to by radio signals? I'll block the radio signals. And I'll get to that in the next minute too. It is notable that people who describe themselves as undergoing electronic harassment or being targeted individuals or being followed or whatever have committed crimes, just like anybody else. From committing unprovoked harassment because they listen and believe to the voices or just initiation feelings or premonitory feelings in their mind or heart, all the way up to a mass shooting caused by a brain tumor. The person had a brain tumor expressing another part of the brain that controlled how they functioned, and if they gotten it treated by just one fucking x-ray, even if the attempt failed, at least they probably wouldn't have killed a bunch of people from a bell tower. About 2 hours ago, someone tried to assault me or threatened to do so because they heard voices. They then went into vindictive attack mode. I'm nearsighted, my eyes go in two different directions, I'm aware of my problems. If I see something that doesn't make sense, I assume not that it's something attacking me or I should act on it. I assume that it's my visual problem. I've had a head injury or two in my life, and I get migraines that make me have scintillating effects visually in front of me, and sometimes they even look pseudo-three-dimensional. It's because I'm having a migraine headache. Acting on things you know for a fact have always been bullshit and not something you should react to means that you're willfully doing it. And some of these individuals do this as a way to lash out at others because they want to, and they're not protecting themselves from you or any perceived issue. They're doing this as an excuse to get away with it. And that's hard to figure out. Thanks for watching. Have a good day. Good luck.